Hello, Shoyan here. I'm a carpenter in Japan. This time, I'm going to build a window frame for each room. I'm going to install wooden window frames on the sash frames. The materials are white and red solid woods that are straight green cut. I'll use these to make the sliding glass door frame and the window frames. Yesterday, I planed the materials with a super surfacer, and I transported them here. I've already cut them approximately to the right lengths. There's no need to worry if the materials are all red, but if the materials are a mix of white and red, the proportions are different. So I'll use a material with a high proportion of white on top, balancing each group. I'm going to cut a groove for an angle bar in the window frame materials. There are 15mm angle pieces on the sash frame to attach the exposed frame. They will be used to secure the wooden frame with small screws. Frame will be installed at the corners of the windows. The vertical materials will extend, as the cut ends of the horizontal materials will attach to them. So the vertical and horizontal materials will have different lengths. Since the decision on where to install the materials will be done on site, I'll plane off the top, bottom, and the horizontal materials by approximately 3 to 3.5mm with an electric plane in one goes there. Super surfacer is then applied to the side of the materials. I'll cut the length of the side, so I finish the side before that. I'll chamfer wide on the inner side and only slightly on the outer. I'll measure the exact length of the sash accurately and cut the materials. I cut the groove for the angle bar less than 1mm deeper. That hides the angle bar a little when we look at the frame from the front. The angle bar is made of resin, which could deform due to heat from the sun. I cut the groove by that amount so that they won't be visible from the front. I'll set the square lumber to the miter saw since there is no guide ruler yet. I set it so that when I cut the exposed material, it won't tear out at the back. Also, the back of the material may be uncut. As I attach the square lumber guide ruler to the material, I won't leave the uncut part on it as it will reach the guide ruler. So I always set it when I cut the material so it will be exposed. Now, I'm going to cut the lengths. If it's an exposed window frame, I'll use a butt joint for joining, which just attaches the cut ends together. It's the easiest way to join them, but I used to join the front with a miter joint or mortise and tenon joint. I've tried several ways to join them, and I've found that the butt joint is the best after a year. It looks beautiful and attaches very well. The miter saw blade must be sharp. It will attach very well if I use a sharp saw and press the blade slowly. Now, I'll assemble the frame. I'll just match the lengths and secure them at the right angle with screws without causing them to shift. However, it's easier to secure them with a mortise and tenon joint. It's tricky to install them using only screws without causing them to shift. I won't use a straight drill for iron, and I'll use a taper-shaped drill for woodworking. It can make a thin pilot hole in the material, and the tip of the screw will get into it. So I feel there is almost no shift in the material. I'll extend the vertical material when I assemble the window frame. Sometimes I'll extend the horizontal material when the window fits both walls. If I extend the vertical material, the top and the bottom cut-ins will be visible. But if I extend the horizontal material, the cut-ins will be hitting the wall. When building a low counter or a storage box, it's better to extend the horizontal material so that the cut-ins won't be visible. So it doesn't always make sense to extend vertically. But when I build the window frames of the entire house, I'll extend all vertical materials for balance. I'll make shims to put under the window frames. There will be a gap between the window frame and the installed windowsill. I'll fill in those parts neatly. Even if I don't, the other artisans may set the boards as scaffolding on the bottom of the window frames. If I don't fill the gap with shims, the window frames will sink. So I'll fill the gaps at the bottom so the frames won't sink. I'll install the window frame now. First, I'll remove the frame that I temporarily installed. After that, I'll secure the shims I made earlier. Next, I'll spray polyurethane foam between the sash and the lintel. Then, I'll install the window frame before the polyurethane foam expands. If you spray the polyurethane foam at the four corners, the frame will attach well, even without screws. That's a little bit of useful information. I'll secure the four corners slightly angled towards the pillar using small screws. I'll spray the polyurethane foam on the area between the pillar and the frame. Heat won't be transferred from around the sash if I do this. I'll also make the 2.72 meter exposed frame for the sliding glass door sash. When making a sliding glass door frame, I'll fit the vertical material neatly to the floor first. The material doesn't always fit neatly to the floor, even if I cut it at the right angle. It's a little warped, so I'll measure it and plane off the amount. Before curing the frame, I'll cut the curing board to the size of the frame. I'll tilt the frame to install under the lintel. If there is a 1 cm margin, there's no need to cut the board. But this time, there was only a 3mm margin, so I cut the curing board. I'll install the frame for sliding glass door. When I carry a 2-meter high frame, I always wish that I were 5 centimeters taller so that I could easily install it. I can barely reach the top by stretching my fingers and standing on my tiptoes. Now, almost all the window frames are installed. Next time, I'll install the door frame. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.